A young pirate and his crew embark on a quest to find hidden treasure. To accomplish their mission, they must overcome formidable foes and sea creatures along the way. We're going to review the One Piece live action from 2023, which took place in the harbor city of Loja Town today. Gold D. Roger was sentenced to be eliminated and completed it. He earned the title of Pirate King. The Vice Admiral of the Navy was able to capture Garp after several years of searching for him. D. Roger, who was seen as a criminal, had a legion of supporters before he died. In front of a sizable gathering of admirers and detractors, he made the decision to reveal the location of his fabled riches. According to the pirate, there is one piece on the main line that has been hidden, and whomever discovers it will have fame, fortune, and power. In the great age of pirates began. Men and women full of hope set out to sea in pursuit of the Pirate King's lost wealth after Roger said his final words. Monkey D. Luffy, a young guy who has yearned to discover the One Piece since he was a child, is one of them. Because his boat is sinking and he is unable to swim, he only needs a devoted crew and a ship to prevent being sucked into the ocean. Before a boat decides to save him, the young man must hide behind a barrel and is swept away by the waves. His barrel eventually finds itself in the middle of a pirate ship battle after a few days at sea. One of them is owned by Captain Alvida, a wanted Navy fugitive with a 5 million berry bounty on her head. The woman commands her crew to bring all the cargo barrels back to her ship after destroying the hostile vessel, and the barrel where Luffy is hiding is one of them. Despite loathing the pirates, particularly Captain Alvida, Kobe is compelled to carry out her instruction. If not, he might get tossed overboard. The young man is working in the hold that evening when he hears a commotion and realizes there is an intruder aboard the ship. Luffy introduces himself and says he's a pirate when he first sees him. He intends to travel to the Grand Line, often known as the ship's cemetery, as soon as he obtains a ship. Kobe assists the young man in stealing one of the lifeboats in an effort to help him escape before his commander awakens. However, Luffy unintentionally awakens the entire crew. Kobe has deceived her, she thinks. Alvida strikes him, but Luffy manages to shield the boy from harm and wipes out the crew in the process. The group learns that Luffy's body is made of rubber when one of the men fires at the intruder. He can deflect all of Elvira's blows with a single movement thanks to his ability to stretch. That day, he abandons the woman overboard. Kobe finally succeeds in escaping the pirates who had him in their custody, and the two set off for the big line together. Kobe inquires about the source of his new friend's abilities. The young man then decides to recount his childhood experiences. Luffy has always wanted to be a part of Shanks' gang and travel the world with them. Although he was too young to sail, the small child was constantly attempting to convince his companion that he was ready to join the pirates. He injured his face in one of these efforts, and even after his wounds were patched up, the scar will follow him for the rest of his life. After eating a weird fruit, Luffy searches the crew's previous expedition's loot for a mysterious fruit. The moment the young man enters the pub where Shanks and his men are, everyone learns that he has acquired abilities. This occurred as a result of Akuma and Luffy 8 being unaware that they knew me, which allowed him to extend every portion of his body. The young man asks Kobe what he wants to accomplish with his life after confessing his secret and learns that Kobe's biggest desire is to become a naval officer to defend others. Luffy decides to modify his course and sail to the closest Navy installation because he is ecstatic about the prospect of helping him accomplish his dream. The opportunity to steal a map that will lead him to the Grand Line will therefore present itself to your pal in addition to allowing him to join a group of Marines. The two decide to dine at a restaurant after arriving at the City of Shells in order to fuel themselves for their quest. They saw Zoro, Noah, and Rory there. A young girl comes up to him and hands him a dish of Aunt Agora. Mappo is incensed when Rika unintentionally spills the food on him at that precise moment. As soon as you tread on the food, he intimidates the girl, infuriating Zoro. The swordsman graciously commends Rika on her culinary skills after swallowing a bit of the crushed food and then commands Hell Mappo to devour the unwary as he walked on. The young man pulls out his katana and assaults Zoro after hearing this. He sees Captain Morgan's son being attacked and manages to knock him down without even getting his sword out of its sheath. The swordsman is attacked by additional officers, but the young man with the green hair defeats them without needing to draw his weapons. A young girl named Nami uses the fighting as a diversion to attack a marine and drag him into cover so she can steal his uniform. After all the commotion he's generated, Zoro visits Captain Morgan, who is in control of the base, to speak with him. The young swordsman, who works as a bounty hunter, recently killed a fugitive's head to collect the reward money. Blue Morgan commends the most renowned pirate hunter in the East for his extraordinary combat prowess and promises to pay the bounty for the fugitive he has seized. If the swordsman wants to retrieve his money, he must first serve a sentence for attacking a bunch of Navy personnel. If Zoro rejects to carry out his punishment, he will be prohibited from ever again serving as a bounty hunter and will be forced to hang for 7 days in a courtyard. The young man decides to take the punishment, at which point Mappo teases him. The young man will beg to life when Zoro is released. The character continues. The following morning, Nami enters the Navy installation while wearing the uniform she stole in search of the Grand Line map. In order to accomplish the same goal, Luffy chooses a different route, which leads him to the courtyard where Zoro is recognizing Luffy as the swordsman who battled the Marines the previous evening. Untying him, the young man decides to ask him to join his pirate crew. Zoro declines the invitation, explaining that he has spent the last 5 years of his life hunting pirates to survive. Luffy makes the decision to carry out his objective despite looking around the base. Nami is revealed and forced to fend off 2 Marines in order to avoid being apprehended. She kills them and hides their bodies as she hears Luffy enter the room. Since he overheard the entire exchange, the young man is aware that Nami is an intrusive presence just like him. In order to avoid getting apprehended, the two make the decision to work together and proceed to Morgan's office. The captain then shows in, and Nami announces that she is accompanying the pirate to prison. In this manner, they get rid of the axe hand, and the girl even succeeds in stealing the office key from him. While this is going on, Zoro rushes after the helmet bow to get his sword, but instead of killing him, he chooses to only cut the young man's hair. Following his entry into the captain's office, Luffy assists Nami in locating the map. The issue is that it's locked up inside a safe, and Morgan has noticed that someone has broken into his office. The pirate succeeds in stealing the safe while he is attempting to destroy the door, and they are both flung out the window. The two must work together to combat a gang of Marines who attack them after the crash. Zoro then arrives as Nami attacks the foes with her staff while Luffy attacks them with his plastic arms and legs. After finding his 3 swords, the young guy resolves to aid Luffy as a token of gratitude for setting him free. When the soldiers are ultimately defeated, the captain reappears, and the group immediately faces off against him. As more police officers come on the site and are attacked by Nami, Luffy and Zoro devise a strategy to eliminate Morgan because of his formidable strength. Then Zoro pulls out his 3 swords and stops his adversary in his tracks. The old man is defeated when the straw hat uses its rubber leg to strike him. The swordsman grabs the safe after winning the conflict, and Nami steals a boat so that the group may flee. Helmet Bow arrives out of nowhere and threatens to shoot the group, but the man is caught off guard and falls unconscious. Following Kobe's punch to the face, the young man bids his pal farewell at that point, and informs him that he will remain at the base to enlist in the Navy. So the group keeps traveling, and that evening, after spending hours attempting to figure out the safe's combination, Nami succeeds in obtaining the priceless map. The boat is attacked just as everything seemed to be going smoothly, and a puff of crimson smoke knocks the crew unconscious. Luffy, though, is able to swallow the map to keep it secure inside his body before he loses consciousness. They find themselves locked within a wooden box when they awake, and when it is open, they learn they have been taken to an odd circus. They quickly learn that they have been transferred to an island, and that the individuals watching them are actually the prisoners of the town. Then Boogie shows up and admits that he had been preparing to take the Grand Line map for a while. But now that those kids have done all the hard work, everything is simpler because they are refusing to say where the map is. In front of the entire audience, Luffy is the first to be assailed as Boogie proceeds to question them independently. The arms and legs of the straw hat are knotted together. The clown promises to stretch it till it reveals the location of the map. Boogie seeks to appeal to Luffy's emotional side after seeing his strategy is failing and steals a young child to use as a test subject for his insanity. A pirate is able to release himself and attacks the young boy after realizing his predicament. Then everyone learns that Boogie has an enemy among the Akumas and is capable of dismembering him from head to toe. He utilizes the red smoke at the precise moment to render Luffy unconscious. The young man awakens to find himself locked in a glass box that is submerging under seawater. Although Akuma and Naomi endow their bearers with enormous powers, they also have a drawback. Everyone who consumes this fruit becomes debilitated when they are near the seashore. Luffy refuses to give the clown the map even though he is aware that he might be killed in the tank and drowns as a result. Some recollections suddenly spring to mind. When he was a youngster, Luffy was kidnapped to sea by a wicked pirate. The man was going to leave the boy there to perish, but instead he got eaten by a sea monster. Shanks was able to spare Luffy, who was supposed to be the next victim. The beast approached and ate the red-haired man's arm as they were aboard a little boat in the middle of the ocean. The monster, however, felt threatened when he met the pirate's eyes and retreated to the depths. By this time, Luffy had noticed that his friend's arm had been eaten and felt bad about it. Shanks gave Luffy his straw hat as a farewell gift before he and his crew left on their next adventure a few days later. It was the young man's most valuable possession from that point forward. Zoro is being questioned by one of Boogie's goons as Luffy is imprisoned in the glass box, and he diverts Kobayashi so that Nami can escape the cage and attack him. After setting her friend free, the young woman and her companion pursue the Straw Hat after spotting his imminent danger. Nami breaks the glass with her staff, and Luffy throws the pieces away after catching it. When Boogie realizes what the clown has done to his friends, he tears his body into dozens of pieces and uses each one to attack Zoro and Nami. Luffy challenges him, but loses as well. At this time, he has the brilliant idea of enclosing Boogie's body inside crates, and with the aid of his buddies, he is able to completely dispose of Boogie. After removing the remainder of the clown from the tent, Luffy is able to find the map. The group releases the villagers before departing, who are incredibly appreciative now that they have the map. The Great Line is their next stop, but they need a ship to get there. Therefore, the squad decides to make a pit stop near the Gecko Islands while Nami researches local security to determine the most advantageous moment to steal a boat. Luffy discovers the ideal ship while exploring the shipyard and meets Usopp. Although he cleans ships, the young man says he is a close buddy of the people who owns all of those ships. The young man enters the estate and is welcomed by Bucky, who doesn't appear to be pleased to see him. Fortunately, Kaleo arrives just in time and extends an invitation to her birthday celebration to Usopp and his buddies. Since Kaya's parents passed away, the girl's butler, Claire Hodder, doesn't like the notion at all. He is now the girl's legal guardian, and the one she most trusts to look out for her interests. In order for the new visitors to prepare for dinner, he requests that Shim accompany them up to the suite. A short while later, Usopp visits Kaya in her chamber through a hidden tunnel and presents her with her birthday gift. The young woman begins to cough as they converse, and her condition only improves after she drinks the tea that Klerksdorp has made for her. Kalia fell terribly ill 3 years ago, and no amount of medication has ever been able to heal her. A few hours later, the group gathers with the other visitors in the ballroom where Nami meets Mr. Mary, who is in charge of managing Kai's funds. The girl loves the father very much and he has worked for the family for many years. Since Kyla would soon reach 18 and inherit her parents' whole inheritance, Mary tries to caution her of the paperwork she plans to sign but is cut off by Clara Dor when dinner is served. But because Kyla must adhere to a very strict diet, she offers her a special blue soup. She begins coughing just as she is about to eat, and since it is getting late, she is sent to her room. In the conclusion of the party, Clara Dor rushes to speak to Mary, knowing that the guy will try to prevent Kaya from giving him the shipyard. She extends an invitation to Usopp and his companions to spend the night in the mansion. After deciding to display his teeth, the butler stabs Mary in the back. After gathering every component of his body, Boogie is visited by one of Arlong's goons and taken prisoner. Boogie finds the fisherman and, realizing that the town he had just taken over belonged to him for an hour, chooses to kill him in an effort to save himself. The clown says he knows where the Grand Line map is and offers to spend an hour helping you find it in the early morning. Zoro searches for a bottle of rum while Luffy leaves his room to find food. Coincidentally, they cross paths and proceed to the kitchen together. Mommy decides to organize some things in the mansion while Kai is away, but she mistakenly walks into Kai's room and is caught. The girl has no animosity for Nami, not even after learning that she is a thief. Instead, Kanya strikes up a friendly conversation with her guest in the hopes of becoming friends. When he gets to the cooking area, Usopp is discovered by the two friends, who are then told by the young guy that the mansion's basement contains a wine cellar. Luffy remains in the kitchen to eat the soup that has been prepared for Kalia as Zoro asks him to lead the way there. Usopp is looking about when he trips over Mary's body. The clanging door then appears. That person, who used to lead the Black Cat Pirates, goes by the name Kuro. The Navy claimed that Morgan had eliminated the pirate, but it appears that after learning the truth, the pirate was able to avoid elimination. Despite Sham sneaking up behind Zoro and attacking him with a bottle, Zoro instantly draws his swords. Usopp is the next person to be killed, but the young guy escapes and flees for assistance. To ensure that they won't be discovered, Clearhearter then commands his goons to dispose of Mary and the swordsman's body in the pit. Usopp encounters Kobe and Helmet Bow, two former Navy cadets who have been deployed to the island to capture Luffy, while rushing about the city looking for assistance. They're convinced they're the good guys. Usopp informs the Marines that his friend is in jeopardy, and requests their assistance in apprehending the butler. Mommy visits the kitchen after a lengthy talk with Kalia and discovers Luffy unconscious. The girl had to hide from the trio's talk when his friends emerge out of nowhere when a door is suddenly cleared. The butler is upset since he planned to serve Kaya the poisoned soup that Luffy and Nami is aware of this. As soon as Kobe rang the doorbell, the butler went to answer it and discovered Kobe. Usopp claims that the pirate who intends to kill his companion is adored by the clan. The Marines can't do anything, though, because he has no evidence to back up his claims. Later, Hider gives the young man to the gang when Mappo informs him that they have been ordered to apprehend a fugitive named Luffy in an effort to end the Marines' confrontation. Usopp runs to alert you to the threat at that very moment as Nami uses Sham's isolation as an opportunity to assault her with a frying pan. The young woman is when she learns that the man she most believes in has plans to kill her. When Nami shows up and tells the girl that the clan order has been poisoning Kaya for all these years through tea, the girl goes into shock and her head only drops. When the girl starts coughing, the trio swiftly uses one of the hidden passages to flee, but they are discovered by the butler. Fortunately, they were able to repel the assaults and make it to Kai's parents' old chamber. After being attacked for a few hours, Zoro wakes up and begins to climb the well to the surface. Kobe starts to question whether Usopp's claims were accurate as they make their way back to the Navy ship, and then all of a sudden Luffy wakes up. After finishing the soup he had consumed, the young man succeeds in getting better. Zoro then shows up shortly after, and they both go back to the mansion. The three children must avoid being discovered while listening to the workers completely demolish the location while Clatterdora enters the room where they are hidden. Carla and Nami decide to confront the enemy, but end up being captured after realizing they won't be able to hide for long. After bursting into the house, Zoro and Luffy parted ways to search for their pals, and Sam and Bucky eventually discovered the swordsman. While wearing a straw hat, he must battle the pirates with remarkable mastery and talent. With the aid of his swords, Zoro is able to beat the adversary, and he then leaves to locate the other members of his gang. At this point, Luffy is attempting to avoid being sliced by clan command. He grabs his arms and then throws him out of the mansion using his own skull. Luffy and his comrades are forced to leave after they have captured the imposters. They are on that island as a thank you gift from the pirates, as the Navy is already aware. The crew asks Usopp to travel with them after Killua chooses to lend them a ship. The young guy bids Collier bye and departs with his new pals for the Big Line, where Luffy celebrates his first pirate ship. When his ship is suddenly attacked, Luffy realizes that his grandfather is trying to kidnap him. With his bare hands, an enraged Garp fires a cannonball at the young man's ship, but the straw hat creates a balloon with his body and deflects the shot onto the enemy ship. He succeeds in doing this by bringing down one of the Marine sails, causing them to start moving more slowly. As a result, The pirates were able to flee and decided to stop at a marine eatery named Variety after traveling for a few hours. Sanji is a young man who works as one of the cooks, but Chef Zeph fails to realize his brilliance after preparing a different food not shown on the menu. When Sanji is assigned to wait tables, he must intervene in a conflict between two clients using his amazing martial arts abilities. Garp gets in touch with me after realizing he has lost track of Luffy. Hawk is the world's greatest swordsman. The man is instructed by Garp to seize the straw hat. The man boasts that his objective will be accomplished shortly and is so strong that he can use his sword to destroy an entire ship. Nighthawk shows up at the barrier that evening and listens to Usopp as he shares some of the experiences he's had with Luffy since becoming a pirate. He then explains that his goal is to get Luffy accepted into the Navy and asks the young man to introduce him to his comrades. Zoro quickly recognizes the man with the cross on his breast and dares him to a sword combat. The young man admits that his greatest desire since he was a boy has been to face Nighthawk in a duel and claim the title of finest swordsman in the world. The man agrees to the challenge and informs Luffy that Zoro will be defeated at dawn. While anticipating the fight, the young man finds it difficult to sleep. The following morning, he meets Meerkat at the designated spot. When the fight starts, the man uses a little sword and asserts that Zoro is unfit to take on the renowned Uriel. Nighthawk wounds the boy even with his little katana, but Zoro doesn't back down. The young man's persistence inspires the swordsman to draw his Uriel, and he uses it to smash two of Zoro's 3 swords. When the bounty hunter learns what has transpired, he concedes defeat and extends his arms so that his adversary may kill him. Nighthawk then makes a large incision in Zoro's abdomen and declares that Zoro still has time to live. Ahead of departure, he tells Zoro to keep working out and that he will be waiting to face him once more. The group pulls his comrade into the ship when he collapses in front of Luffy, who then heads back to the Baratie in need of assistance. Sanji and Zeph decide to go there to assist him since there isn't a doctor inside the eatery. The old man covers the wound with fish skin after stitching it up, and Zoro's pals lead him to his chamber. Hour-Long shows up at the Baratie with 2 other members of his crew hours later, and threatens to eat the patrons if he doesn't divulge where Luffy is. An AMI enters the eatery at precisely that moment and quickly alerts her commander. She demands that the crew leave right away, but Luffy is unwilling to allow her bring harm to uninvolved parties. So he returns after an hour and finds that Boogie's ear has been concealed in his hat the entire time. The fisherman located him in this manner. When an hour is diverted, Zeph seizes the chance to shoot at them, but the shark is unharmed by his bullet. Immediately, in order to save his master, Sanji leaps on Karabai as he strikes the elderly guy. After defeating the cook, Luffy goes after the shark but quickly realizes he can't compete with it. When NAMI shows up and tells the young man that she has managed to take the map, the young man has already been expelled from the establishment and is about to be killed. Just then, the crew learns that the young woman has been working non-stop for an hour, and she is successful in persuading the shark to spare Luffy. Zoro awakens hours later and learns the reality of NAMI. The Straw Hat, after being betrayed, still thinks that his companion was simply another hour-long victim and tries to go and save her. The crew is getting ready to depart after fueling their ship, when Sanji arrives and explains that he will be joining them to serve as the crew's official cook. He will be able to assist them in locating NAMI. The pirates will ask Boogie for assistance. He will direct them to the fisherman's sanctuary. When they arrive, they must pass through a village where NAMI is snatching up locals' taxes. The girl is despised by everyone in Kokoyoshi village, even her own sister, who sees the girl with some of her old friends. NAMI commands them to leave and claims she does not require their assistance. After determining that the young woman is lying, in order to visit her sister, Luffy persuades Magico to divulge all of her knowledge. When they were both youngsters, Arlen's gang overran their community, forcing everyone to pay a levy in order to survive. She couldn't have rescued herself and the girls with the money she had. The mother of the girl made the decision to give her life so that they may survive. The group questions why NAMI is working for the man who killed her mother after hearing the narrative, and Luffy is convinced that she is being forced to do so. That evening, the girl reminds them of their agreement and claims that she was able to gather the 100 million berries necessary to purchase Kokoyoshi village. She is asked to go collect the money, and bring it back to the temple once she learns that Nami has managed to collect all of this money over an hour. The shark then gives Karabai the order to pursue Natsumi, a Navy agent who is on the outside of the settlement, when the young woman goes to collect her reward. Nami arrives at her mother's grave shortly after and immediately begins digging. Magico shows up when she opens a chest and demands that her sister explain what she's doing with all that cash. After being identified, the young woman claims that after her mother died, she offered to work for Arlong's gang in exchange for her services because she was an excellent mapmaker. When she finds out that Nami has managed to gather all of this money over an hour, she is instructed to go collect it and bring it back to the temple. When the young woman goes to claim her reward, the shark orders Karabai to hunt down Natsumi, a Navy agent who is outside the village. Soon later, Nami arrives at her mother's grave and starts excavating. When she opens a chest, Magico appears and orders her sister to explain what she's doing with all that money. After being recognized, the young lady explains that she offered to work with Arlong's gang because she was a skilled mapmaker after her mother passed away. The young woman is moved when she sees her friends wanting to support her in spite of everything she has done, and she is even more shocked when she observes the people as a whole rallying to her cause. The 5 friends attack the sanctuary that morning and team together to engage the fishermen in combat. While the rest of the crew confronts his supporters, Luffy and Nami pursue him for an hour. Shu starts pursuing Usopp at this time, so he flees into the forest in an effort to hide from him. As a result of his treatment of Nami, Luffy is indignant and destroys his weapon. Then, as he did with everyone who attempted to harm his buddies outside, he commands his friend to leave the area while taking out the shark. Boji is able to reclaim his body and flee through the woods while Zoro and Sanji continue fighting their enemies. Shu will frequently toss drinks at Usopp, thus he must avoid them while seeming defeated in order for Chu to use his explosive fire bullet to hit him. After spending a few minutes trying to damage our friend Luffy, he finds that his blows are ineffective and chooses to pursue a new course of action. In an effort to stop the attack, he uses his skills to demolish the palace's supporting columns and bring down the entire structure. Hour-long runs in the direction of the pirate, but Luffy uses his rubber leg to attack him and finish down his mansion. The crew starts to believe that their leader has been killed at that very instant when the entire structure collapses. But when Luffy emerges from the wreckage, everyone is relieved. The villagers throw a party to celebrate being set free, but the Navy arrives and ends the party. The crew is subsequently surrounded by Garp's troops, who immediately challenges Luffy to a duel. The grandfather has yet to come to terms with the reality that his grandson decided to become a pirate as opposed to following in his footsteps and joining the Marines. Garp proves to be stronger than Luffy despite being older and devoid of any special abilities. Each time he punches the young man, Garp throws him away. After a few strikes, the Straw Hat hardly moves at all. However, he claims he will always pursue his dream. The young man smiles as he imagines himself as the king of the pirates at that precise time and makes the promise that he will soon find One Piece. When Garp sees his grandchild, he is reminded of Gold D. Roger, who maintained his smile even after being eliminated. The Vice Admiral immediately sets Luffy free and chooses to let him continue on his journey. He bids the boy farewell and then commands his men to detain Arlong and his adherents. The following morning, when Kobe goes to tell his old friend about it, Luffy is overjoyed to see that his image is on a banner advertising a search. Friends then say goodbye to the two once more and the captain departs to inform his gang of the development. Numerous bounty hunters will pursue Luffy and his crew now that the value of his head has increased to 30 million berries, but that doesn't worry him. The Straw Hat gets a gift from his friends and a custom sail for his ship before embarking on his next journey. He is ecstatic and believes he has everything he needs to complete his quest. The end.